Hello, my name is Shelley Ziegler, and I am the lead library consultant at the Mississippi Library Commission. Today we are starting a new series. This is part one of a two-part series on weeding. And whether you love weeding or you think it's the devil's work, it still needs to be done. So let's get into it. So first of all, I like to give a definition of weeding. That's something that I always feel it helps set the kind of the groundwork for weeding. So weeding is also called deselection. That's a little more like the proper word for it, but we all call it weeding. It is the process of removing items from your collection that are outdated, damaged, irrelevant, or no longer circulating. A garden analogy is always used. So just like pruning a garden, weeding keeps your collection healthy and vibrant. Do you like to weed? Some people don't. Some people do. Here are some reasons why some people don't, or the reasons they say. Someone may want it someday. So they're like, I'm going to keep this book because it may not have circulated in 10 years, but any day now someone could come in and they want it. Okay, that's a weird reason, but all right. Many people feel like it is a sin to throw a book away, that every book is sacred, and that is not the truth. Some people think something is better than nothing, that if I weeded what I really should weed, I really wouldn't have much in my collection, so I might as well have a bunch of junk than nothing. Some people think it may be worth something someday, so I need to keep those first editions. Some people are simply like, I don't really know how. I don't know where to start. And some people think, I don't have the time. And let me just tell you, the time and the how, those are very valid reasons. And it can be hard to start, and it can be hard to keep it up, especially if you're at a one-person library. So I do understand. But I'm going to talk about some of the many reasons why we should read. And I'm going to talk about relevance first. We want our collection to reflect the world as it is now, not what it was like in the 1950s. So I have an example of a book. It's an old book, and it's called I'm Glad I'm a Boy, I'm Glad I'm a Girl. Obviously, it is very sexist and biased and does not reflect our community and our society. So this would be one that would be an easy weed. Currency, outdated material, outdated information. It's important, especially in your medical collections, to keep an eye on that because those get outdated very quickly. Another thing is it current with the times? So a book on the Beach Boys and how they're this new great band, probably not a book you need in 2025, but you might want a book about Taylor Swift. So hope you see what I'm saying there. And let's talk about appeal. People want clean, attractive books. People do judge a book by its cover. I do it, you do it. We all want nice, clean books. So regardless of the information in older books that have been around for a while and, they've got some stains and they're, I like to say gross a lot because I feel like that kind of just conveys it. It's not really professional, but it gets my point across. Everyone wants nice, clean books. It keeps your collection attractive and appealing as well. Circulation. This is a big one for me because studies have shown that a weeded collection will circulate more than a non-weeded one that has way more stuff. And it's because people like to have a curated collection, whether they even know what that is or not. They do. They like when they come into your library and you have a new book section, and it's usually at the front, and that's usually for a reason. Because that's the one place people stop. They like it because there's not a whole lot of books to choose from. They're all nice and clean and neat, and it just makes sense. It's just very useful. So a curated collection, you are doing the work for the patrons. You're not making them weed through the ugly, gross, stained materials and outdated materials. So think about that. Accessibility. This is very important. If you have crowded shelves, and a lot of times when I see crowded shelves in libraries I go to, they often will have books on the very top shelf and the very bottom shelf. That's really a no-no. It is very difficult for many people to get down and then get a book from a bottom shelf. And then on top shelf, that's nearly impossible for many people. And it's just not safe. So think about that when you're thinking about weeding your collection. You're also doing it to help people just physically access the area better. All right, and collection development. Weeding goes hand in hand with building your collection. Once you remove items that need to be weeded, it's only then you can see the holes in your collection. It allows you to see areas that you need to invest more money in, possibly. I like it because you find like those little gem books that you didn't even know existed, because they're all packed in with all these other books you didn't need. So look for those little gems, I like to say. All right, I have a floor plan here for a reason. Libraries only have so much space. In the past, in this training, I've talked about the library in one of the Star Wars films, and it is an infinite amount of space. They don't need to weed anything. They are an archive. Archive being a key word. They are going to keep everything. You, at a public library, you are not an archive. It is not your job to keep every book that has ever been written or every book that comes across your collection. So just because it's in your collection now does not mean it has to be there forever and ever. It can be weeded out because your space is limited. And also, when you create extra space that was basically at one time used just to keep books that weren't needed, then you create areas where you can maybe have a new display or a new small curated collection. So just look at your space and use it wisely. And here I want to review a little bit about what we've already talked about. So weeding, why is it so relevant? It does so many things. It increases library appeal. You're protecting readers from inaccurate information. You're encouraging browsing. You're making browsing so much easier. You're taking out the books that are of no interest to patrons, books that have not circulated in 5-10 years. You're saving yourself space, and with that space, you can use that space for updated priorities, like a smaller curated collection, maybe based on a seasonal basis, or for your summer library programs. It could be a lot of different ways. And here's an analogy that I really like, but it's kind of gross. So let's say you have a glass of milk that you have poured, and it is like the last milk in the carton. I don't drink milk, so it's like talking about milk just it's gross to me and all. But anyway, so you pour it into a glass, and then you notice that it has gone bad. What do you do with it? Do you keep it because, oh, I don't know when I'm going to get to the store again, I better keep this spoiled milk? Okay. Do you think, okay, well, if I need it later, I can always get it. I can just give it to my neighbor, and they can keep it in their refrigerator. And then if I don't get another glass, I can just go get it. All right, just stay with me. It's going to make sense. Do you keep it because otherwise you wouldn't have anything in your refrigerator? So would you put it back and be like, well, at least I have something in there? But that something is spoiled milk. Gross. Would you think, okay, well, I don't want it because it's spoiled, but maybe at my local jail or my community center, maybe they'd want it. Relate that to a book. So a book is outdated. Do you keep it because, well, this is a title that I think I'd like to get a replacement of, but I don't know when I'm going to get a replacement, so I'm going to keep this yucky old version. Okay. Do you give it to another library in your library system? Like, okay, well, at my branch, I don't have space for it, but instead of getting rid of it, I'll just give it to another branch to hold for me, pretty much. Do you keep it because you think, well, if I weeded everything, there wouldn't be anything on my shelves, so I might as well keep something on my shelves? Or do you think, well, okay, it's gross and it's outdated, but maybe some of those people that are incarcerated would like it? No, they wouldn't. They don't like your gross book. They don't want your inaccurate books. So I know it's an extreme analogy, but I hope it helps clarify what I'm talking about in terms of weeding. So, okay, so you have all this information. Okay, you're like, oh, all right, Shelly, I'm feeling good. I feel like I understand. It makes sense. I don't know how to start. Well, before you go to your shelves, just pause, because I know now you're all excited. You're like, okay, these are great reasons. Now I want to go and I want to weed. Well, before you go to your shelves, before you hit the stacks, as they say, why don't you run some circulation reports? Those are very easy to create, but set parameters for that. Do you want to look at materials that have only circulated once? Do you want to pull materials that have had 0 circs? Do you want to pull materials that have a publication date of 2010 and above? Do you look at, again, the number of checkouts or the last activity date? Those are all up to you on how you want to run your reports. But another good idea is to divide your areas of the library that you're going to weed into, I call it small, digestible chunks. So instead of saying, okay, well, Susan, you're going to do all nonfiction. Well, that's a little overwhelming. Why don't you just have her do like the 0s to the 399s, for example, or just the 800s? But here's one thing, I will give you a little tip here. It is best if you are not the person weeding a section that you love. So if the fairy tale section is what you just love, and you love new fairy tale books when they come in, you probably should not weed that area. You're a little biased and you're going to play favorites. Just every librarian does it. So just know that, and if you can, have someone else weed it. I know that in one-person library systems, that's not always the case. So you might just have to have some constraint on yourself and your preferences. But I always found that it's best not to weed the sections that you really love. Also, before you go to the shelves, and I know this is kind of a crazy image, but I like it for a lot of reasons. So everyone is angry or looking confused or something, but if you start a big weed and people start noticing it, for the most part, the public does not understand how your collection works, how it's developed, how you maintain it. All they see is that the library is throwing away or getting rid of a bunch of books, and that's their tax dollars at work, and they don't like it. So before you go to the shelves and start weeding, start putting out the word and explaining to people why the weeding is happening. First, tell them that you are doing weeding, and explain because it's to improve our collection. Now, you can put the word out. I always encourage you to do it via social media, but also do it at your library. So if there is a section that is being weeded, make a sign, and I have a whole signage training. Make a good sign on why this area might look different. We're weeding it. We're making room for new materials. So just explain the why in it. And that's not going to save you from all the negative feedback, but that might take care of a good portion of it. And you have to consistently let people know you're weeding. Like, don't just start, like, if you're going to do a weed and it's going to last like 6 months because you're doing it in little sections, you're going to have to consistently tell people why you're weeding for those 6 months. Next month, part 2 is coming out. So we know why weeding is great, what to do before you hit the shelves, how to tell your public about what's going on. And then in part 2, we're going to talk about, okay, how to actually start weeding, how to look at different criteria, and what to do with the materials that you have weeded. That's always a big one, because you're like, oh, I got all these books, and some of them look good, some of them should probably just go to the dumpster. So we will speak more about that. And again, my name is Shelly Ziegler, and I am the lead library consultant here. If you have any comments or questions, or if there's a training that you would like for us to provide and we haven't yet, I would love for you to let me know about it so we can include that. So thank you very much.